I'm going to go ahead and assume that you have completed at least the first 2 tutorials. If you have the gumption to do it, I would suggest finishing the others as they become available. The tutorials are very good. However, I feel like if you've done the first 2, you have the basics down well enough to start playing. If you finish those tutorials, you also have a few meta resources. You can come into the city, click buy upgrades, and you'll be able to pick from your first couple choices. You don't need to think too hard about this. You will unlock many things as you work your way up the tree. After that, you will want to come back out to the world map, where you will choose the biome for your first game. Now, on this map, I have Royal Woodlands, Marshland, Coral Forest. I even have some Cursed Royal Woodlands. In addition to those, there is also this Scarlet Orchard. Depending on which biome you pick, you will see various different resources on your map. An easy way to double check this is to go to Summary. First thing of note is fertile soil. That will be important if you plan on using farming. This will give you an idea of how much fertile soil to expect on your map. Second place you want to look is conditions. Based on your difficulty level, it will change the seasonal conditions. Going down to Settler, which is the starting difficulty, you can see here that I have 2 positive effects and I will have 1 negative. As you go up in difficulty, that will change the numbers and how strong the effects are. On this map, you can also see any additional effects of your map. On this one, I settled near an ancient battlefield, so I've got that. I also have the effect of the Royal Woodlands. In addition, at the bottom, it will show you the resources you can get on that map from chopping certain types of trees, and the other resources you should expect to find as you explore the forest. Let's go ahead and pick a map, and I will bring you back in. After you've decided on where you would like to settle for your first map, your next choice will be deciding on which of the caravans you would like to bring. Different caravans will give you different numbers and different starting races. You can mouse over them to read a little bit about them. They'll tell you what they're good at, what they like to do, and some of their likes for various goods and services. You can mouse over the crate and it will show you your basic starting resources. On this profile, I've advanced a few levels, so I have more than you will see here, but this will show you what you've unlocked so far. In addition, different caravans will start you with different amounts of different goods. So if I was to pick this top choice, I would get extra eggs, meat, extra lumber, extra oil, and extra villagers. Whereas if I pick the bottom, I know what 2 of my 3 races are going to be and a different selection of goods. Based on what you select here, you will also want to choose some embarkation bonuses. You will be starting with 3 points, and you can unlock more as you go up the meta progression tree. You can pick whatever seems will be useful for you. Personally, I like to start with stone in the beginning. That will help you open some early events and chests. Otherwise, anything is fine. Another decision that you will have to make before you start your first map is what difficulty level you would like to play it at. Settler is the starting easiest difficulty. Each difficulty will change the rule set slightly. Villagers eat less food. You can also mouse over the magnifying glass, and that will give you more details about your chosen difficulty. Pioneer is probably a good start if you've played other builders before. The difference between that and Settler is you'll be back to the normal amount of food required. You will also require more reputation to win. If you find that too easy, or you just want to start with a challenge, you can up that even more. Note, as you go farther up the difficulty, it does get quite a bit more difficult, but that is perfectly fine. In this game, it is totally acceptable to fail a settlement. You still will have meta resources, and it is not a game over like it would be maybe in some other games. So challenge yourself, find that right spot where you're having fun. If you want more resources, you can go sweaty and pick something really hard. If you just want to have a chill time, pick something easy. The first thing you will see as you load into a map is your Forest Mysteries screen. This is going to be based on the difficulty level that you chose. At Veteran difficulty, I get 1 positive effect, and I have 5 different negative effects here. This is going to be very important for your playthrough. You're going to want to take time and look at what season the effect takes place and what each effect does. You can do this by mousing over each effect. Of particular note is what hostility level the various mysteries become active. On this one, at hostility level 1, I will have these first 2 effects, and then at 2 I will have this one, and finally at 5 I will have this one. Mouse over these and go ahead and give them a quick read and see if there's any way that you can avoid them. So looking through here, on my level 5 one, to prevent it, I would need to fulfill the following need: services. For my level 1 here, I would need to have housing. So anyone who does not have housing provided for them would have this affect them. In addition, down below you can see the same effects that you were able to see from the world map if you need to just refresh your memory on those. Once you're done looking at that screen, you can go ahead and close it. The same information will be available at the top. First thing I will do after that when looking at a map is check out my starting resources. Now, I know what they look like, but if you don't, you can hit B and it will give you these pop-ups that kind of highlight where things are that you might need to interact with. You can click on them to get further details about what they do. Once you have selected a resource, it will also show you what building is required to gather it. So here it's showing me that I can use the small forager's camp, and that is colored in because I start with it, or I could use just the plain forager's camp, which is grayed out because I currently do not have that recipe. Once you've looked at that, you will also want to take a look around and look at your starting area. Make some plans on where you would like to chop first. Managing hostility gained from opening glades is very important. If you mouse over hostility here, you can see that a small glade gives us 10 hostility. That's these smaller glades here. In the smaller glades, you generally will not run across any particularly dangerous events, but you also will not have anything particularly rich. The best you can hope for is maybe some fertile soil or a small node of resources. Ideally, we will want to chop into dangerous glades. This is because a dangerous glade is only 20 hostility, only twice as much as a small glade, but there will be many more resources here. Generally speaking, you'll get between 2 and 3 good resources, and you'll have an event and possibly some crates to either open or send back to the Citadel. This is going to be key to most strategies because completing the events or sending the crates are a great way to increase your reputation. The goal of every map is to fill up your reputation, except for seal maps. They're special. Don't worry about them for now. The way to lose every map is to have the Queen's Impatience bar fill. This will fill naturally over time. Events can affect it based on your choices or failures to complete them. People choosing to leave or dying in your settlement will also increase the Queen's Impatience. It's important to keep an eye on this, as if you're at the last second on your bar, it can be very hard to scramble to reduce it. One easy way to reduce it is to complete the Queen's orders. We'll look at that in a minute. Every time you turn in a Queen's order, you will lose 1 impatience and gain 1 reputation. After I've looked around and decided where I would like to go, on this map I will probably chop up here to the north. That's a little bit thinner than the other one. You will want to start planning out your initial buildings. If you've forgotten what you started with, you could click on your warehouse. It will probably be sorted by a list, but you can change your view to grid if you'd prefer. Either way, you'll always start with some gears and some building materials and food. On this map, I have roots, so I will choose to set down a forager's camp to start collecting that food. I also started with some clay. I will go ahead and set down a stonecutter's camp, as that is what will collect those. In addition, I generally like to get my roads planned. The 2 most important buildings in your settlement, ironically, are the 2 that you start with. We have our ancient hearth. This is what protects us from the storm. This is where the fire that keeps us alive is kept. On that screen, you can adjust how things are burning. You don't need to worry about that too much. Let it burn the wood. Don't think about it too much right now. The other important building is your warehouse. Your warehouse is where all of your goods must go when they're stored and where all of your goods are available. When a worker is working on a building, let's say I have people working my forager's camp, as they collect things and fill it up, they will have to carry those goods to my warehouse. In addition, every once in a while, your villagers will take a break, and they will walk to the nearest hearth to do so. This is where they will fulfill all of their needs. They do not need to go to the warehouse to pick up food, or go to a kitchen building, or go to their home to rest. They will fulfill all those needs at the hearth. What this means is this is prime real estate. We want to put production buildings, generally speaking, close to the warehouse to lower the amount of time they have to spend traveling and walking. Houses, on the other hand, have to go within range of the hearth to keep them safe. Generally speaking, I like to put my houses on the far side of my warehouse and leave the warehouse side open for industry. I'm going to go ahead and pause here and set down my initial buildings, and I'll bring you back once they have completed that and we'll talk about it. Alright, as you can see here, I put down some basic buildings. I went ahead and I built myself 2 woodcutters camps right on that direction that I'm planning to chop. I got my initial building for collecting food. My clay building is down. In addition, I went ahead and built a crude workstation. This building will allow you to make planks, fabric, bricks, and pipes, basic building materials for your buildings. If you go to build something and you need some of those, this is your always open pick to do so. It should be noted, these recipes are very inefficient. This takes 8 wood and only gives me 2 planks. That brings us into our next topic, drafting our buildings. While I was building these, I got 2 pop-ups at the top. The first one is choosing cornerstones. Cornerstones are like perks that last for the whole run. Depending on how far you progress in the game, you'll unlock more and more into your pool, but you can never guarantee which one you're going to get. So read through what you have and pick something that looks useful. Generally speaking, if you're not sure, anything that increases woodcutting speed or gives you free food or perhaps lowers hostility. For this map, I'm going to go ahead and pick faster woodcutting. Another thing that will pop up very close to the beginning are your orders. These are the tasks that the Queen has given us. By completing these, we will gain reputation to win the game, and we can use them to lower the Queen's impatience to stop ourselves from losing the game. One thing to note, you do not have to pick these instantly when they are available. I could open those right now and choose whatever I think is available. I'm going to wait until I open this glade to see what I have available. That will inform my decision of what type of orders I would like to do. Just starting out, you may prefer to weather your first storm in just your starting area and chop into the next area right after storm season. I'm going to go ahead and be bold and go ahead and chop in. I have my woodcutters camps. I can select the marked trees for harvesting and designate them like that. If I make a mistake, I can get rid of it. Also, while that tool is selected, the shift key, to make it smaller if I want to be very precise, like I only want these trees to be chopped. You can do whatever is comfortable for you, and as you play, you'll figure out the way you'd like to do that. Another setting that you can change, both in the game settings itself or on an individual building basis, is the behavior of your woodcutters camp. This can be very, very important, especially when you're just starting out. The default will be on fell all trees. That means your woodcutters will just choose on their own something in range of their camp and they'll chop it. Generally speaking, they'll pick the closest tree to the camp. This is a good way to get yourself in trouble because there's no control over it. Just starting out, you will want to be on avoid glades, or my personal favorite, avoid glades except if I've marked them. By putting that setting on, they will avoid the trees that would open up another glade and only chop into glades that you have marked. I'm going to go ahead and let them get that open. When it's open, we'll go ahead and take a look at those orders. All right, we're just about ready to open that glade. Another thing to note is most buildings can be moved. For example, these woodcutters, as they've gotten further and further away from where they're chopping, they have to do further and further walks. If you select it, you can hit M or click the move button to freely move around your camps. Now, some buildings do have a cost for this. If I select one of these houses, if I was to move this, I would have to pay 5 wood. But camps are free to move, so feel free to move them closer to the resource that they are gathering. We'll let them chop through that last tree separating us. All right. When you open up a glade, you will get a glade symbol with a little timer on it. You can mouse over that and it will give you an overview of everything that can be found in that glade. This dangerous glade, for example, has bleeding tooth mushrooms, a large deposit, slick shell broodmother, large deposit, bleeding tooth mushroom, small, moss broccoli patch, small, so a clearance water geyser, that's for the rain puck technology. You won't have to worry about that at the start. Medium abandoned cache, a large abandoned cache, and our Glade event, the Withered Tree. When I open these up, I always pause my game and take a second to collect my thoughts on what I'd like to do. The first thing that you need to know is to take a look at your event, see what you can do about it. So, for example, in this event, I could choose to cut it down. Would require no resources on my part. I would just assign some workers and tell them to cut it down. You can always mouse over and it will tell you the consequences of doing that. Different events will, of course, have different consequences. You'll always have two choices, whether you can afford it or not. My other choice would be to cleanse this, where I would need to make some purging fire, and I would need some other goods. Whenever you see goods with a spinning arrows around them, that means you can change the selection. So if I click on that, left click, I could choose any of these resources to combine with the fire to complete this event. Now, on this map, I don't have any of these. I'm not collecting reeds. I don't have coats, or I don't even have the ability to make metal bars. I'm not going to be able to finish this within the timer. If you do not finish an event within the timer, the consequence will go off. These can be very devastating. You do not want events going off. So I'm going to go ahead and tell them that I'd like to chop this down. I'm going to go to assign workers. I've only got one worker available, so I'm going to go tell somebody to stop collecting something and put them on that because I would like to get it done as soon as possible.
Yeah.
In addition to that, oftentimes glades will have caches of various sizes. These are great. When you're just starting out, you won't have the ability to start with tools. Tools will allow you to send to the Citadel, which will give us Queen's Grace, which will fill up that reputation bar, opening up more recipes and moving us towards victory. Often it will also give you Amber, which is a currency used by traders that you can use to trade for goods or buy different keystones or blueprints. If you started with stone or you have stone available on your map, oftentimes you will be able to break open the crates. On here, if I could also use training gear or sea marrow. With the stone I started with, I'm going to choose to break this one open. I will get some copper ore, I will get some ancient tablets, and I will get 20 crystallized dew. Oh, I have no workers available. So again, I could take workers off of other jobs. I'm not in a hurry, there's no timer. The only timer on here is how long it will take them to break it open, so I'm just going to let that one ride. Another thing I like to do at this point, if you don't already know it, by default your UI will look like this for the races. If you hit the arrow and expand that, it will show you various things about them. First of all, it will show you if they're meeting their housing needs with basic housing, or if you have them unlocked, advanced housing. Advanced housing makes people happier, and happier people will start to give you reputation. To get reputation, you have to raise the resolve up to the blue bar. And as you gain resolve points, the blue bar will raise higher and higher, meaning that you'll need to meet more and more of their goods. Every race has an advanced type of house that they would like to live in, several advanced foods that they would prefer to eat, and other goods or services they like. For example, starting with humans, they like to have clothing to keep warm and dry out of the rain. They'd prefer the service of leisure and the service of religion. Service buildings are something that we can unlock later. You can also mouse over the summary and it will tell you what is affecting each race. So these humans have combined efforts for a +1, while also having a -4 for my hostility level. Different races also have a different baseline amount. These humans are pretty happy at 17. My lizards and harpies are pretty unhappy at 6 and 5. Anything above 1 and under your resolve bar is treated the exact same. If you get above, you'll start earning those points. If you get below, down to 0 or less, you will see a progress bar start to decrease, and when it's empty, they will leave your settlement. This is important. You don't want to lose population, because oftentimes in the early game, you'll be limited by the amount of population you have to work various jobs. All right, now that we have looked at the threats that we've unlocked, let's see what opportunities we have. Remember, we picked our keystone off the bat, but let's take a look at those orders and see what the queen would like us to do. These are going to be randomized, and I think they also have to do with how much you have unlocked. So if you don't have trading unlocked, you're not going to get an order to do trading. You can mouse over the various things that the queen would like you to do. Your choices here are very strategic. You could pick something very easy to do and grab an early Queen's Grace for that extra reputation to get some new buildings unlocked. Or you might choose based on the reward. Some quick population and money, maybe that would be useful. Or different keystones. So if I was to do this one over here, I would permanently get +1 stone production, +1 clay production, and I would get 6 tools. Since this only wants me to discover 2 glades, I'm going to go ahead and pick that. Let's take a look at our other ones. Okay, this one would like me to trade. I'm going to go ahead and pick that. This one would like me to make humans happy. I think I could make my humans happy. I'll go ahead and pick that. Now that we know what our goals are, let's take a look and see what blueprints we have available. When you're just starting out, you will have less choices. I've unlocked an extra choice based on my meta progression. This is where you're going to draft your blueprint pool, like making a deck of cards in a card game or a build in an RPG. This is very important. For example, I could pick a market here, which is a type of service building, but I'm a long ways out from having the wine or the tea that I would need to run that building. This would probably not be a good choice because I would need another building and maybe a resource gathering building to supply that. I'm a long ways out from being able to use this. If you don't like your choices and you're just starting out, you won't have the ability to do anything. As you progress and get some meta progression, I've unlocked the ability to reroll by paying amber. For this game though, I'm not going to do that. I'll show you exactly what it looks like as a new player. So if I pick my leather worker, I'd have the fabric recipe at 2 stars. The stars indicate how efficient it is. More stars, better. I don't really like any of these choices. These are a little more advanced than I would like, but we'll go ahead and we'll take the leather worker. Okay, we have an option for a farm here. We know that on this map we have an average soil fertility, so I will probably find some fertile ground. That'd be a pretty safe pick. I could upgrade various camps that are available, or I could pick a brick oven, which would give me the ability to make coal, which is a more efficient fuel source. That might be a decent pick. I'm gonna go ahead and pick the farm. I like to know that I at least can make some kind of food reliably. And for my third choice, I'm gonna go ahead and pick up the provisioner. All right, after that, that's your opening early game part. So you're gonna wanna solve your forest events as they pop up. You're gonna wanna pick blueprints that will further your ability to complete orders. You're also gonna wanna try to focus on getting some complex food. Your villagers will eat any food that's available to them. When you're first starting out, you don't have any control over that. A little later on, you'll unlock this screen where you can tell people, hey, I don't want you to eat roots. I'm saving those for something else. But the goal is to always try to make complex food because it's more efficient. I could take 5 meat and turn them into 7 jerky. That's just an example, not an exact ratio. But generally speaking, they're always more efficient. In addition to that, because they have different things that they like, if I was to make jerky, my lizards and my harpies would be happy, raising that resolve, making it easier to keep them satisfied, especially during the storm season when it's going to get pretty spicy and they're not going to be having a good time. I don't want them to leave. I want them to be here helping me help the queen so that we can survive against the storm. I'm going to go ahead and play this map a little bit, and I will bring you back in when I get out of what I would consider the early game. All right, and I'm going to bring you back here. I would consider this moving into the mid game. So I've got a few reputation points under my belt. I opened a cache. I finished both my Glade events, got a little bit of reputation, made a couple more recipe choices. I have a building that produces more efficient planks. I have a building that produces more efficient bricks, and I have a building that produces more efficient fabric. I would say not every game needs that. Planks are pretty fundamental. You generally do need a plank recipe that's better than just your crude workshop, but you can get by on one, maybe two of these, depending on your biome and your luck on finding resources. In addition, I have a building here that is producing a complex food, and I even got a bonus to it, so it's very efficient. I'm basically doubling my food by turning just insects or meat into jerky. My Queen's Impatience was up above half for a little bit before I just turned in a few orders, and I've just now got my last couple picks of orders, so these will be the last ones I have to finish up the game with. Okay, I'm gonna pick whatever I think I can do. It's very important, don't get too obsessed with the bonuses, because if you can't complete it, you're not gonna get the bonus. Generally speaking, one or two kind of stretch goal ones are fine, but if you pick all really hard ones that you don't know you can do, you'll probably finish the game with a loss long before you have any of these done. As you can see here, I've already finished 4. I know I can finish this one. It's happening right now. I know this one's happening. It's happening right now. I've started this. I have the ability to make the incense I need. I just need a building now that serves that one. I know I can do these trade routes. I know I can open and solve events. And I know that I can store up this much wood and these many provision packs. So I made easy choices on myself. Nothing too hard here. I would consider mid-game is now focusing on getting to the end goal. The end goal is to fill up this bar. Even if I finish my, my 6 orders, that's not going to finish me up. I'm not going to have enough to win. So I'm going to have to get at least a few points either from other events or opening caches, or I'm going to have to get more points from reputation. To get that, you need to make people happy. So my harpies are happy. Why are they happy? They all have basic or advanced housing. They're getting the jerky that they like, and they're getting raincoats that they like to wear. If you have a race that is close but not quite there, you can click on this button to favor that race. That will give them a +5, but the other 2 races will have a -5. So you can kind of ping pong between races to get some reputation points, or during a bad storm, maybe you can juggle your resolve a little bit, just keep that one low race from leaving you. I did actually have a really bad storm and I had a lizard leave, so that is not ideal. As I've been going on, I've been picking up various keystones that I think are going to help me. On this one, I know that I'm going to open some more glades, so I'm going to go ahead and pick one that just gives me a bonus there. So all just trying to pick up synergies as you go. I'm making extra jerky. That's the building that's making people happy. I have lizards in there. When they glow blue, that means they like their job. And you can tell that by mousing over the race and reading it. You'll see the little symbols there, and then you can look at your building. So this one has the warmth. Lizards like being warm. In addition to that, the other type of bonus is, here's some lizards over here. They've got this spinning like wheel cog going on. That's because they have proficiency in meat production, which means they have a 10% chance to have a bonus yield. When you're just starting out, I would say the big one is actually beavers. Beavers are good at chopping wood, and they're good at engineering, which would include things like my lumber mill here. So that's their wood proficiency, or engineering buildings like mines. Also, that's where they prefer to work. So I'm moving into middle game. I've got my eye on the end game. My plan, I'm making tools, so I'm going to open some more crates, and I'm going to pop a couple more glades. I feel like this victory's pretty in hand. Just a matter of time. Even if I got a really bad event and I failed one, I don't think the penalties would be bad enough that I couldn't overcome them. If you are still struggling, food. On this map, I accepted too many people too fast. So you'll get these groups of newcomers, and that's how you expand your population, in addition to any of your goals here that give you extra villagers. I was just grabbing them willy-nilly because I was expanding really fast. I felt really good. I didn't realize that I had used up one of my food sources, and I had to pick up an upgrade to my trader's camp with one of my blueprints so that I could pick this harder to harvest large resource node. So I was really struggling with that. Because I'm a little more advanced up the meta tree, I have the trader encampment, so I traded for some food. So you, even not playing perfectly at veteran difficulty, I'm well enough along that I can get through this. Your meta progression will help with that. If you're at whatever difficulty you feel you should be playing, or you're trying to challenge yourself, or you want to move up in difficulty, the reason I'm not playing on Viceroy on this account is I just don't have as much meta progression. Are there people who can do that? Sure, but I just wouldn't enjoy doing that. So I just like playing it about where I find it a little difficult, but I'm probably gonna win, get some meta progression, and then move up to the next difficulty. All right, I'm gonna keep breaking into these glades and earning. All right, and I'm bringing you back here right before the end. Just kind of show you what I did on this map, give you an idea of a pretty smooth run. So I ended up doing 4 glades, all dangerous. So 1 here, 1 here, 1 here, and 1 here. I successfully did all the Glade events, although I was not able to get the prestige for all of them. A couple of them I just had to take the resources because I just didn't have the items needed to solve the event. I opened several crates, and I was able to do that because I took a building that allowed me to produce tools, and buildings that allowed me to produce metal to make the tools. Ended up getting more efficient bricks, so just kind of streamlining what I had in the mid-game. I ended up unlocking and building specialized housing. As you can see here, everyone's super happy right now because I just got services. So I unlocked the monastery where I'm using incense and ale, and I unlocked the temple where I'm serving also incense and scrolls. So I got the last, I don't know, 4 or 5 points in rapid succession. Usually, most of my maps seem to have kind of like a high water point, and once I hit that point, it's just like right to the end. If you're really, really struggling, it might come down to the wire. I've had a couple of nail biters like that, but generally speaking, if you've been lucky with your keystones, as you can see, I mean, I have this many things unlocked. So these are more than just keystones. Some of them are keystones, some of them are service effects, some of them are upgrading my hearth effects, various things that you'll unlock. But the gist is you build up bonuses and you try to synergize with the buildings that you were able to choose. You try to choose strategically based on what the map has for you, and you leverage that synergy to go to the victory. If I didn't have tools, for example, I know that's a hard one when you're just starting out, like you don't know what buildings you need to get that production chain going. That'd be totally fine. Like, this was a little harder map. I started with some things that slowed me down that a new player won't have. You could open up some more glades. I would say be careful of these forbidden glades. These ones can have events that are game enders. So if you like to live dangerously, pop it and see what happens. If you just want to play it safe, you might need to go hunt out a couple more dangerous glades and get some more points that way. Alternatively, you could just focus on making people happy as long as you have sustainable food. On this map, I ended up only getting 2 spots that had fertile soil, and I just got this one right here at the end. So I was having food issues the whole way through. This trapper upgrade came in clutch, allowed me to get this meat off these larger deposits, and I also had some vegetables I was able to get. Another thing of note, when you're just starting out, you may find yourself running out of parts. Parts are the little gear icon, and a lot of your basic buildings need these, maybe some of the more advanced ones too. For example, your camps. Your camps all require parts to build. So if I go down here, I would need 3, 3, 3. If you run out and you have a camp that you don't need, or maybe you're just so desperate you need to like switch to a food building, you can go to delete. V is the hotkey, and you can delete these and it'll tell you what you're going to get back. So it would give me 10 wood and 3 parts, and it's just is automatic, don't even have to haul it. and I would get those parts back, and I could use them for a different building. Maybe that would keep me going a little longer. So this has been the basics. There's a lot more to this game. I mean, I just scratched the surface here. If this was interesting to you, I have a short, well, I say short, a 4-episode, multiple hour, just kind of casual Let's Play that I go through and explain my thought process in a lot more depth than I did here. And in the coming days, I'm planning on coming out with maybe a quick tip video that's a little even more condensed than this, or maybe has a little bit more depth than this one does too. So I'm gonna go ahead and pop that. There's my victory. I hope this helps you get through your first map, and I think you'll find that it is very intuitive once you get going. When you're in doubt, the help documents and the other tutorials are very useful. They're very clear. If you need more information beyond that, the wiki's pretty good. The Steam forums are pretty good, or you could leave a comment here and I'll try to answer as I can, and if there's enough interest I could make another video. So thank you for watching this. I hope this helped everyone get started. If it did help you, I'd appreciate a like. It just helps me know that what I'm doing has some value here, and I wish you luck on going up against the storm. Hopefully I'll see you other Viceroys around.